Did you know, when you walk into a market, the brightest apples are the first thing you notice? Perfect color, perfect shape. But the people who actually understand quality don't just look at shine, they check consistency, firmness, reliability. Because what looks good isn't always what gets picked. And that's exactly how people get chosen too. Most people believe being chosen is about talent. That if you're smart enough, skilled enough, or different enough, eventually something will notice you. Opportunity, recognition, purpose. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Some of the most talented people you know are never chosen. Not because they lack ability, but because they lack something far less visible and far more decisive. If you've ever felt overlooked despite knowing what you're capable of, this isn't random. There are patterns to it. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. Because being chosen isn't about standing out. It's about being usable. And most people, no matter how talented, never become that. Let's break this down carefully, because this isn't motivational, it's structural. The first reason people are never chosen is that they confuse potential with reliability. Talent creates attention, reliability creates trust, and trust is what selection is built on. You can be the most creative person in the room, but if people can't predict you, they won't bet on you. Because choosing someone is always a risk. And humans don't eliminate risk with brilliance. They eliminate it with consistency. This is why you'll often see less talented people move ahead. Not because they're better, but because they're stable. They show up the same way, every time. And that predictability becomes more valuable than raw ability. It's not fair, but it's real. The second reason is harder to accept. Some people are never chosen because they're still trying to be liked. There's a quiet trade happening in every environment. Respect is given to people who can tolerate being misunderstood. Approval is given to people who adapt to expectations. You cannot maximize both. And most people choose approval. They soften their opinions, they delay decisions, they avoid friction, and over time they become invisible. Because people who are easy to like are rarely seen as essential. They're pleasant, but not necessary. And chosen roles are never filled by people who are merely pleasant. They're filled by people who can carry weight, even if that makes others uncomfortable. The third reason is subtle, but it shows up everywhere. Some people are never chosen because they haven't learned how to finish. Starting is exciting, planning feels productive, talking about ideas feels intelligent, but finishing is where identity is proven. And most people avoid that stage because finishing exposes something terrifying. Limits. When you complete something, it becomes measurable, comparable, judgeable. So people stay in motion without ever arriving. They stay in progress. And that protects their self-image. But it also removes them from consideration. Because no one chooses unfinished people. They choose completed signals, evidence, proof, not intention. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. The fourth reason is internal. Some people are never chosen because they don't actually want the responsibility. They want the identity, they want the recognition, they want the story, but not the weight that comes with it. Being chosen isn't flattering, it's demanding. It means less freedom, more expectations, more pressure to perform when you don't feel ready. And at a deeper level, many people resist that, so they unconsciously disqualify themselves. They hesitate at the moment of visibility. They delay when action is required. They overthink when clarity is needed. From the outside, it looks like bad luck, but from the inside, it's protection. Because staying unchosen is safer. The fifth reason is something almost no one talks about. Some people are never chosen because they haven't learned how to be seen, not noticed, seen. There's a difference. Being noticed is accidental. Being seen is intentional. It requires articulation, positioning, clarity about what you do and why it matters. But many talented people hide behind ambiguity. They assume their work will speak for itself. It doesn't, because the world is noisy, and clarity cuts through noise. If people can't quickly understand your value, they move on. Not because you lack depth, but because you lack signal. And without signal, there is no selection. Now let's address something that might be bothering you. You might be thinking, then what actually gets someone chosen? If it's not just talent, then what is it? It's alignment between three things most people never fully connect: what you can do, what you consistently do, and what others can clearly recognize. When those three align, selection becomes almost inevitable. Not immediate, but inevitable, because you remove uncertainty. And once uncertainty is gone, people start to rely on you. and reliance is the foundation of being chosen. But there's one final layer, and it's the one most people avoid completely. Some people are never chosen because they never choose themselves first. They wait for permission, for validation, for the right moment, for someone else to decide they're ready. But that moment doesn't come because external selection follows internal commitment, not the other way around. When you start acting as if your role is already real, not loudly, not performatively, but structurally, your behavior changes, your standards tighten, your output becomes sharper, and slowly, the environment adjusts. Because people don't just respond to talent, they respond to certainty, and certainty is visible, even when no one says it out loud. So if you feel overlooked, it might not be because you're missing something. It might be because you're still distributing your energy across too many directions, trying to be everything, instead of becoming undeniable in one dimension. Because here's the paradox. The people who seem chosen often look ordinary at first, until you notice one thing. They are extremely clear, extremely consistent, and extremely committed, not to being special, but to being useful. And usefulness is what gets selected. Every time. So the real question isn't, why am I not chosen? The better question is, where am I still unpredictable, unclear, or unfinished? Because that's where selection breaks. Not in your talent, but in your structure. Fix that, and the entire dynamic changes. Not overnight, but permanently. And once you see that, you stop waiting to be chosen, and you start becoming someone who can't be ignored.